All right, Elon. There's so many stories we could talk about, and I do my daily newsletter, and it's like I could write a whole thing on HHS or a whole thing on Social Security or a whole thing, of course, on USAID. So let's just start, as we say, 30,000 feet. Sean, what are your thoughts about Elon so far? Like, what do you think people should be focused on regarding his role and results?
I mean, look, as a conservative who has been concerned about the growth and size of government, what he is doing is just music to my ears. I love the fact that he's going in, rooting out everything from contracts to bloated bureaucrats. There's a list of apparently of the additional agencies that he's going to. I'm just excited about what this means. I will tell you, and I wonder if it was intentional or not, but there's a new cover of Time magazine out
Yep.
with Elon. I mean, it's a la Steve Bannon 8 years ago. It's almost like the same playbook. Um, I wonder how many aides back in the day, the way to knife an aide was to take clips and just randomly happen to drop them off the president's desk and maybe highlight or point to a point where there's a quote about something that someone you don't like doing something that the president won't like to knife them. I wonder how many copies of the front cover of Elon behind that desk end up on the Oval or the small dining room today for people who don't like it. The one thing I will tell you, though, is that generally speaking, you may not like, or some people may not like Elon's tactics, but for the conservatives, this is great. I mean, like what he is doing has been decades in the making. There's no more talk and excuses. He's getting it done. And so I don't know that he really has internally, like there may be someone at an agency level, like, whether it's Marco Rubio or Lee Zeldin at EPA or someone like those people who are like, I don't need you in my wheelhouse, but I don't know that there's any internal dissent. People have been wanting this for a long time on the right to go in to look at government. So there's a big difference between knifing somebody you don't like or that's screwing you over. And, I think he's in a very different place than we were 8 years ago and what happened to Steve. So I actually think for the most part, everyone that I talk to in MAGA world kind of is ecstatic about what he's doing.
Dan, what's your middle name?
Calhoun, Scottish.
That's what I would have guessed.
Yep.
Calhoun.
Daniel
You look like a
Daniel
Calhoun.
Daniel Calhoun Tarantine. What say you about the Musk of it all?
Just so you know, whenever my parents said that, I was in trouble. When the
I know
full
that's
name
why I
came,
used that's why
yeah,
I
when the
used
full
it.
name came out, you
Yeah.
sat to attention. I actually largely agree with Sean in that for those who voted for Donald Trump, who want the status quo, kind of blown up and changed, he is bulldozing through and doing where in the past people have only talked about it. So I think if this is what you want, to Sean's point, I think you are ecstatic. I will also give him and the Trump administration credit. Your opposition was kind of dumbfounded and is completely on their heels. There was no preparation for this. They don't, as of now, have a really good response to this. And so if you want to judge whether someone is successful, it's almost like a knockout so far. I think
So
where this will get interesting is one, as we've talked about all week, it's becoming me, this cover is a good example of it is becoming about like Elon accomplished this. Only Elon could do this. And at what point do others, just from a political standpoint, really the jury of one, have an issue with that? The second is he's gone for the easy targets. And now that he's going to start touching Social Security, Department of Education, health, apparently he's going to try to blow up NOAA. I mean, they do the weather. I did not know God, had a thing with screwing the deep state or, getting Republicans. I think the question is the product he produces a better product to serve real people and their lives? Or do things start falling through the cracks and there are problems? And what he has done is gutted it to the point of inefficiency, not efficiency.
So Dan, I think the thing that you're absolutely right on in terms of like as long as he doesn't cross the line, and right now I think Trump sees him as, hey, you're getting all the, I mean, I said this before, you're taking all the arrows and you're getting it done. But I cannot overemphasize the one thing about Donald Trump, both the first term and this time. is on faith-based stuff, on tax stuff, on bloated bureaucracy. Republican leaders have talked the talk for decades and done nothing, and then give you an excuse about the process and this and that. Donald Trump gets it done, and there's a lot of leeway that comes with that. That people, we talk about HHS and why people give RFK a pass, because Donald Trump has a record of getting it done, whether it's the people he's appointed to the bench, or, like I said, all the stuff that he's done for the pro-life community, cutting taxes, cutting government. Like, he has bought himself a ton of political space with the right because he's put so many points on the board.
I'll be very curious. I would think pretty soon, maybe the next few weeks, I imagine the DSCC, the DCCC, the NRSC, John McLaughlin for Trump, is polling and focus grouping what is the initial reaction to this first month. And I, because I see Democrats in the chat and obviously online, I'm giving political judgment, not like, we ought to be fighting everything per se. I imagine this is all pretty popular. That so far he has not, and Trump has not hit a live wire of, oh my God, I'm really upset that they did this, or it's really harmed negatively my life. If you live in the DMV, you have a different view of this. But I think so far the country is probably applauding and saying, to Sean's point, government's too big, doesn't work great. They're, a bunch of jerks, and we need to reform it.